Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, it is patch day, and we're going to dive into the notes today, take a look at all the highlights coming in today's update, including the new Mothman Equinox event, Season 7, quality of life improvements, changes to the public event system, and a whole bit more. So, let's get cracking. Okay, so this is a bit of an odd update in some ways. In terms of its new content, it's perhaps not the most exciting, although we've got a few bits and pieces in here that are worth having a look at. But we do have a whole host of changes, updates, bug fixes, all manner of other bits and pieces like that that are definitely going to be successful quality of life improvements, I think. They're going to add some much-needed adjustments to the game that I'm really looking forward to. There's some cool stuff in here. So, let's jump in and get cracking. So, Night of the Moth update notes. So, yeah... Mothman Equinox, Season 7, quality of life improvements, public event improvements, and a new radio station, which is looking quite cool, actually, in its content. So we're looking at not the biggest patch, given the amount of stuff that's in here, which is quite cool. So we're down at what? The smallest one is PC via Bethesda.net from the look of this, at 9.7 gig, and the largest one being... Ooh, Microsoft Store PC, actually, at 19.1. Consoles are not the largest one for a change, so that's cool. So... New seasonal event, Mothman Equinox. I'm looking forward to this one. I've had a little play with it on the PTS, not much, didn't get a lot of time for it, but it looks promising so far. The location's really cool, being at Point Pleasant, and there's lots of elevation because they use the rooftops as well for the event, so very, very cool. Well worth having a run around that spot and sort of finding out where the various sort of markers for stuff you have to do in the event are if you get the time, sort of while the event's not running, so you kind of have a better idea where to go. As it's quite spread out all around the, well, village, I suppose, but very cool. So, a group of road travellers have just arrived in Appalachia and they've taken up residence at Point Pleasant to celebrate a dubious occasion known as the Mothman Equinox. They're calling themselves the Enlightened. This sect of the wise Mothman's most devoted followers plan to summon the cryptid through an elaborate ritual, aid their dark endeavours and fend off rival cultists to earn the wise Mothman's favour. So these rival cultists, referred to as heretics, are actually the cultists that we already see in the game, the ones that have been around for, well, the entire lifespan of the game. So those guys are the sort of adversarial group, and we have the new set of cultists who are the ones we're helping out, and they're quite cool. They're weird, which is what you'd expect from Mothman cultists, but they're quite cool. The whole event is pretty awesome. So, running through from today until the 21st of December, the Mothman Equinox Seasonal event will take place every hour at the top of the hour in Point Pleasant in the forest region of Appalachia. So yeah, top of the hour, that's same as Meat Week, basically, with its Graham's Meat Cook part of the event. Yeah, mixed feelings on that. It kind of makes sense for this type of event, given the style of it. But getting all of the rewards for it, which is one of the things I'm quite hyped for, because there's quite a lot of available rewards, I think, or I'm getting the impression are for this, is going to be a little more difficult, given that the event is only every hour or so. So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have to be in there quite a lot if you want to sort of capitalise on this. On the other hand, it will be returning. It's a seasonal event, so even if we don't get them all, more bites of the apple will come on down the line. So far, they've hinted that it might come up once or twice a year, which is kind of odd and a bit logical, because it's Mothman Equinox, and yet it's happening at the solstice. But in the same breath, because it's not happening at the equinox, the equinoxes are therefore kind of still open to potential place for the event to appear. So who knows, it might appear up to 4 times a year, which would be cool. Assuming they can keep it stocked with cool rewards anyway, which would be ideal. But yeah, hopefully we'll have plenty of bites of that particular apple. So we begin the event by talking with Interpreter Clarence on top of the Mothman Museum. He's up on the roof. It's quite a cool spot, that one. And we join other dwellers to aid the Enlightened in completing ceremonial tasks around Point Pleasant, including lighting ritual bonfires, defending them against the onslaught of rival Mothman cultists. If you manage to finish each objective before the timer expires, head back to the Mothman Museum's roof to complete the final step of the summoning, commune with the wise Mothman, and have a chance to earn new themed plans. So, that's the core event every hour. While you're in Point Pleasant, don't forget to hunt around for ways to learn more about the origins of the mysterious Enlightened. Ooh, I didn't know that. There's little lore bits around this new cult in there as well, which is cool. I'm sure we can talk to the people who are present as well to get information, so yeah, that'd be interesting to find out a bit more about. So the second part of this event, while it's running, is that as long as this seasonal event is live, you'll be able to encounter cultist high priests during your adventures throughout Appalachia. So I'm going to take throughout to mean that they're going to spawn all over the map. So much like Hunt for the Treasure Hunter does now, or when it's up anyway, it's going to function much the same way as that does. And you'll hunt down and dispatch them for more chances to earn Mothman cult-themed rewards, but watch out for their shadow creatures. So, like Hunt for the Treasure Hunter, they'll probably spawn anywhere you can find mobs, so probably the same route for searching for them. We'll have to have a look. I'll be doing that on stream, no doubt. But yeah, they'll pop up every so often. There'll be legendary enemies as per the treasure hunters, except they'll be obviously Mothman cultist themed. And they have the ability to summon shadow creatures, which basically means they dominate the will of other creatures and entice them to attack you. So they will be accompanied by whatever, who knows, different creatures, different types, presumably ghouls and animals and all manner of other bits and pieces. I wonder whether or not super mutants will be included in that. Be interesting to see. But yeah, other creatures will be sort of under their spell, as it were, and will attack. So it will be a little bit more dangerous than the Mothman, than the more minor treasure hunter is, sorry, because obviously those guys just run away. These guys are going to fight back and they'll have friends to help out. But yeah, it looks like a fun event. Should be cool. Going to give us plenty to sink our teeth into over the next few weeks, alongside Season 7, which will also up the amount of stuff we've got to do. So, former and self-proclaimed Emperor of the Universe, Dr. Zorbo, has never forgotten his crushing defeat at the hands of Captain Cosmos during the legendary run. That was the first season that we had. Now Zorbo seeks to enact revenge by assembling a villainous crew who will help him build a massive war machine who will use to obliterate the captain. Here's what's headed your way during Season 7, which also begins today. So we've got a new scoreboard. This time we're on the side of Dr. Zorbo. We're actually siding with the bad guys on this particular board game, which is a different tone from the previous ones. So, join forces with Dr. Zorbo on Zorbo's Revenge scoreboard as he travels from planet to planet to recruit a crack team that will help him hunt down Captain Cosmos. Takedown, sorry. Along the way, you'll be able to earn a host of new in-game rewards this season, including cosmetics, currencies, consumables, camp objects, and more. Yeah, this is definitely looking like one of the better seasons. I'll link the video I did up in the one of these corners anyway, so you can have a look through and see what those rewards are. There are a few that I didn't cover in that video because I think they're Fallout First ones, and those aren't listed on the website. So we'll see when we jump into the game on that. But the main one is pretty decent. There's a lot of camp stuff in there. There's a couple of new allies. And yeah, there's a new weapon in there and some ammo for it, which is cool. Looking forward to seeing all about that. There's some surprisingly good stuff very early on in that scoreboard. And there's a lot more atoms than there have been in recent seasons as well. So yeah, definitely a step in the right direction, this one. It's improved over the last couple, I think. Not perfect. I mean, it'd be nice to have a few more skins, maybe a few less perk packs, stuff like that. But on the whole, pretty good, I think. So, new allies, Xerxo and Catherine, who will give you buffs and act as vendors and sell scrap, basically. So, those will be hanging around your camp. Catherine's probably got the better ones, I think, there in terms of the buffs. And, of course, you can rank up beyond rank 100 as well, as per and earn extra perk card packs, consumables, atoms, blah, blah, blah. So, we've got links to the season pages on Bethesda.net here, and as per usual, I'll link the patch notes down below so you can find your way over here nice and easily. Obviously, I'm going to hurry on through the bug fixes as best as I can in a bit, so if you do want to check those out, there's some really good stuff in there, incidentally. Stuff that I think a lot of people will be happy to see. Then I do suggest checking that link out and having a look for yourselves. So, quality of life improvements. I know a lot of people are quite hyped for some of this stuff. Community feedback plays an important role in how we approach shaping and leveling up Fallout 76, and we love reading all your ideas about what you'd like to see added to the game. With today's update, we are implementing a number of quality of life improvements that have been suggested by many of you in the community. Hope you enjoyed digging into them in-game and that you will continue sharing your thoughts with us. So yeah, they've been doing this the whole lifespan of the game, and so it shall continue, which is great. So, nearby corpse looting, area looting, definitely one I'm sure we'll all be happy to have. In a nutshell, you run over to a corpse and there's a new option when you loot it, which allows you to access the inventories of all corpses within a reasonable area around the one you're looting. Opens up a menu, much like the current one. If you go into the larger menu as opposed to just looting it on the surface, as it were, it'll bring up a list of everything that this person has and everybody else's stuff as well, and then you pick and choose what you want. So, unlike some games where area looting just grabs everything from the area and leaves you to sort it out in your inventory, you'll be able to pick and choose as well as not have to run around all the bodies here. So, dead simple, you'll see exactly how it works when you actually run into your first body, or first body that there are others around. And yeah, definitely a nice little improvement. Works exactly as you want it to, I think. So, legendary loot sharing. This one is a nice to have. It's kind of late to the party, but yeah, for those occasions where we run into somebody who is not so polite, I know most people are generally quite agreeable about letting everybody get a hit in on legendary enemies. That's no longer going to be a problem. You'll just need to be generally close to the legendary enemy to loot them, as long as you are within sight range, they're calling it, which is a bit vague. Doesn't mean you have to actually be able to see them, which means you've got to be reasonably close. So yeah, as long as you're reasonably close, you'll be able to loot them, same as if you'd hit them. Which leads into team XP sharing, which is the same basic principle, except if you are on a team, you will gain shared experience for kills that other members of the team make. So the way that's going to work is that if you contribute directly to the fight against a given enemy, then you'll get the full XP. If you are nearby but don't contribute to the fight, you will get 50% of it anyway. So there you go. Fairly simple. Much like legendary loot sharing, and obviously those two work in tandem as well. So yeah, it should make those particularly higher level players who play in teams that much easier to level up and progress on the scoreboard and all that good stuff and gain all their extra perks and stuff. So generally a nice little addition for those who like to play in teams a lot. So good little add, that one. This one I have a bit more mixed feelings on, and that's that they are adding a new tab to the build menu. And this is going to work much like the one in the Pipboy does already, in that if you get a new building object, camp object, either through learning a new plan or through buying it from the Atomic Shop, during that session you will be able to check out the new tab, find the new object in there, and place it much more easily. However, like the Pipboy one, if you log out to the main menu and log back in, or end your session, whatever, carry on, obviously it'll wipe and go clean, and you'll have to find it then onwards inside the main menu. Not sure what the solution to that is, but if you don't want to build it straight away, it's slightly less opportune, I think. But personally, what I really want to see is a complete overhaul of the building system, literally rebuild it from the ground up, well, the menu at the very least. Rebuild it from the ground up, because particularly those who've got long-term characters will find that our menus get very, very cluttered and it's very hard to find anything. Although there is one change coming up that will make a tiny little impact on that, but a lot more of them would be welcome. To streamline the building menus would be great, because yikes. Speaking of streamlining things though, Pipboy keyring. For the most part, kind of not very interesting. How often do we actually need to find a specific key? I can't think of a single occasion I actually have had to do that. However, what it will do is tidy up the miscellaneous tab in your Pipboy. All your keys will now go into a keyring object that you will have to activate if you want to view your keys. Thus resulting in a single object where you had a ton of separate keys in your miscellaneous tab before. So that should be much tidier, much easier to navigate, and much easier to find, well, probably the gunpowder you want to put into your stash. So a little thing, not massively exciting, but tidying up that miscellaneous tab definitely needed doing, so a good change. Still on the subject of the Pipboy, menu colour customization. We've known this one's coming for a while, very, very happy to have it. A set of sliders will be making an appearance inside the game menus, presumably on the display page, but I'm sure hunting around will make it evident quite easily. And you'll be able to change the colour of the text on your Pipboy so that you can stylize it whatever way you like. I suspect this will also affect the colour of your Pipboy light, so you may want to bear that in mind. Red text might look cool, it's probably not going to be that practical as a light though. Personally, I'm just going to go straight and change those colours to white so that the Pipboy light is much more effective and you can actually see in the dark better. Because that green is cool and very, very Fallout, but not very easy to see in the dark. I've heard a few people say they're going to go with New Vegas yellow, but same problem in my opinion. So to each their own, however, customize it as you will, and that'll be available in the settings as of this update. And last but not least, on the quality of life stuff, well actually it's kind of not last because there's a whole lot of other stuff that's basically quality of life too. Ammo everywhere. So in Daily Ops, the contextual ammo system has been reasonably popular. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good in that it drops ammo for the weapon you'll use to kill a given enemy. So they're expanding this to the rest of the game so that any existing source of ammo, like containers and creature loot, so anytime you kill a creature, anytime you loot a box, anything like that, they will have an increased chance to have small amount of ammo for the specific weapon that you have equipped. So it doesn't really require you to kill anything, it's the equipped weapon at the time you open the container, be that a box or a body. So yeah, basically for those, particularly those of us who have automatic weapons, it should make it that much easier to find the ammo that we need for it. I mean, you have to craft a bit less, which is definitely a win. I know I spend a lot of time crafting ammo, so always a bonus. It should make it that bit easier. Like some people don't have any issue with that. They've got absolutely tons of ammo, but yeah, this will make for most players, I think, keeping yourself stocked up that little bit easier to do. So definitely nice. So, public event updates. This stuff is definitely a quality of life change, but it's in its own section. And there's a significant overhaul happening to the public event system. So that's the events that appear on the map with an exclamation mark in them. They're being tweaked so that they will appear more reliably, so you get less lengths of time where there's just none of them spawning. I'm not completely happy with the way they've approached this, personally, but it's definitely going to be an improvement, so half a loaf being better than none, I suppose. So, they've streamlined the way that public events are available by making cooldown times between events much more consistent, so you won't end up with really long waits for the next one. Public event start times are now based on real-world time, which is simpler, and will now begin every 20 minutes across all worlds. Now, that does mean that you won't have to wait as long sometimes for public events to come up. I still feel like 20 minutes is a bit too long. If you're specifically after legendary cores, then public event farming is one of the best ways to do it, and 1 every 20 minutes, it's 3 every hour. I mean, it's better than its current setup, in that you'll get a whole bunch of them and then nothing, but at the same time, 20 minutes, most of the events don't take 20 minutes, and I'd like to see it closer to sort of 15 or 10 personally on that, but you never know, they might change it in future, but either way, it's still going to improve things, just it didn't go quite as far as I would have liked there. So, each world's next public event is selected at random from the list. In addition, a public event can no longer appear twice in a row in the same world. It wasn't really a big issue, but it should add a little bit more variety going forward. Seasonal public events that begin every hour, like Graham's Meat Cook or the Mothman Equinox, will take priority over normal public events. So that basically means 2 regular public events and the seasonal one every hour when those events are running. Otherwise, it'll be 3 public events every hour, basically on the 20-minute basis. So, yeah, that makes sense. That seems like a reasonable way of doing it. As I say, I still prefer it being down at like 10 minutes, but yeah, still. So, we've adjusted timers for the following public events to make them fit within the 20-minute time cadence. So basically most of these are getting shortened, I think. So that's Campfire Tales, Distinguished Guests, Feed the People, Heart of the Swamp, Line in the Sand, One Violent Night, Path to Enlightenment, Project Paradise, Radiation Rumble, Tea Time, The Motherlode, and Uranium Fever. So, a few public events like Scorched Earth and A Colossal Problem have special requirements in order to start and can be triggered at any time. Also include Encrypted as well. And those haven't changed. They can happen whenever, wherever, within their usual limitations, and they are separate to the timed public event rotation. So those are, still saying separate, which is cool. Shouldn't affect those. So public event reward previews. Basically, when you mouse over the public event icon in the map, you will see a little pop-up which tells you a bit about the event that has been expanded to include a preview of what the rewards, or some of the rewards, the tentpole flagship items for those events are. So you'll know what you can potentially get. It's worth noting, of course, the drop chances haven't changed, although the chance of success in a number of these has improved. So you got a better chance of getting them, but at the same time, you've still got to hit certain milestones in order to get the best chance of getting certain rewards. But you'll have an idea about whether or not you even want to chase that event down more easily from just looking at it on the map, which is cool. So, public event balance adjustments. So these affect things like the length of the event, how tough they are to complete, that sort of thing. Most of them I think are pretty good, and they're definitely going to be improvements. There's a couple of them that I'm a bit kind of underwhelmed by, but there are pretty cool ones on the whole as well. So, some of our events could be a little too difficult, end in failure too suddenly, or last too long. We're implementing balance changes to a number of public events to help smooth out a number of these rough spots and improve the experience of playing through them. So, fairly long list here. Campfire Tales. The campfire often died down too quickly, which is when you've got to put wood on it to keep it lit, which causes the event to fail more easily than we'd like. Yeah, I've run into that a few times. Now the campfire will burn a bit longer, giving you and your event mates some extra time to feed the flames. So, yeah, that was the single biggest problem with Campfire Tales in my opinion. So, yeah, less chance of it just sort of randomly failing because you got distracted by the influx of blood bugs or whatever. So, definitely a good one there. This one's an odd one. Free range. The Brahmin during free range were too fragile, so we've beefed up their resistances to help them survive more easily, though you'll still need to defend them. I've never really noticed the Brahmin going down in that event. Never really had too much difficulty even on the occasions I've soloed it, so I don't know. I didn't really think that was a particularly necessary change, but fine. It's not going to make it any harder. Not that it was hard to begin with, so I think it's a kind of one of those changes that effectively doesn't do anything, in real terms anyway, but there you go. It is what it is. Guided meditation. Not a fan of this event. Feral ghouls now consistently run towards and attack the speakers, preventing an issue where they could remain idle in the parking lots. So I'm sure we've all seen them just sit over at the back, or if you're not too near them, they won't kind of come running forward and attack things, which makes the event a lot easier to complete when you're soloing it. That will no longer be the case. Ghouls may sometimes still stand around if they don't sniff out new prey right away, but they should be much closer to the action, so it should be less likely to happen overall. They're not removing it altogether, which makes sense. Having them just automatically charge straight towards it all the time will be over the top, I think, so a halfway house is probably the right call on that, I think. And we've reduced the ghouls' overall difficulty during guided meditation to account for their increased speaker busting effectiveness. So basically we'll be able to kill them more easily, take them out faster, which kind of offsets the drawbacks to playing it solo or with few players. It does also mean, I hope, that more players will have to engage proactively with defending the speakers rather than just standing on the top of things with legacy weapons and blowing shit up. So hopefully that will be a good improvement to that event, because it did need one. So, Line in the Sand is another event that I'm not a big fan of. It's still going to be noisy as hell, so please, please, please don't turn that damn rocket launcher on. But it was taking a bit too long to come to an end. I definitely agree. It was like 20 minutes long. That's far too long. However, it now has an overall time limit of 10 minutes and uses timers to determine how long the Scorch attack waves last, rather than requiring you to kill all of the enemies in a given wave. This should help the event flow more smoothly and reduce downtime throughout. Definitely agree with that. I think those are both good changes. Upon reaching the event's time limit, it will not fail so long as the generator is still standing. So basically you'll succeed as long as you get to the end of the time, or if you destroy all of the enemies, whichever happens first. That is, of course, as usual, provided the generator still works. So you will receive more rewards, however, if you manage to defeat all of the enemy waves, which encourages you to engage with the enemies, so that's cool. I think that's a good balance and a good set of changes. Still wish to turn the volume down on the rocket launcher, though. Oh well, we can't have everything. So, Project Paradise. This one is a little disappointing, and I don't feel really solves the problem, the biggest problem of the event. But it will help, but yeah. I think they need to go a bit further with this one somehow. So, to help reduce the event's difficulty, we're lowering the amount of food required to level up each biome's creatures to 15 per rank. So that will mean your creatures at the end that you have to defend are more powerful more easily, so they won't die so fast. That's a step in the right direction. We're also adding more resistances to friendly creatures that spawn during the event, so presumably that includes the ones we have to defend, so again, they won't die so quickly. Definitely a step in the right direction. And Project Paradise no longer ends in failure if you do not manage to kill the alpha creatures. To succeed, players only need to defend the friendly creatures. However, rewards will be reduced if the alphas are still alive at the end of the event. So essentially, you still need to kill the alphas. If you want those good rewards. And a lot of the Nuclear Winter stuff, or a good chunk of the Nuclear Winter rewards, got added into Project Paradise. So this will make it easier to do. But to my mind, the biggest problem was that you needed a significant number of people to successfully complete the event. You'll need less from this, but there's still 3 target creatures that you have to level up and then protect, which means you're going to need minimum of 3 people engaging, possibly still more than that. I think 3 is probably as low as they can take it. It depends just how high these resistances are offset. So if the resistances are up by enough and one person can comfortably defend them all, notwithstanding insanely high-powered builds, then that will be good. But if they haven't gone that far, then you're still going to need quite a lot of players to complete it, which I know was the idea, but it's also the problem. So swings and roundabouts. I guess we'll have to see when we actually get into game, but it's still going to need a minimum of 3 because you can't be in 3 places at once. So we'll have to see, as I say. It's definitely a step in the right direction, but I'm on the fence at the very least about this. So, Radiation Rumble. To encourage players to participate in the ore collection objective more often, instead of standing there just farming ghouls for XP, we are lowering the requirements to 5, 15, 30 and 50 ore for each reward tier, respectively. Radiation Rumble also has an overall time limit of 8 minutes now, which is cool. It pulls that down a little bit, even if you've already reached the final ore collection tier. This way, you can continue defending against enemy attack waves until the event concludes, so it kind of offsets it. It won't end suddenly if you do hit the final tier, which should be a good thing overall, but it also means you've got a better bite at the end rewards and discourages to a degree just farming enemies, but also still allows you to farm to a certain extent as well. So I think they've hit a happy medium there, We've lowered the spawn rate of non-ghoul enemies at certain ore thresholds to prevent overwhelming enemy numbers. Okay. Yeah, like 50 death claws is probably a bit much. Not the end of the world, but still a lot. And finally, we've doubled the scavengers' resistances to make them more survivable. So overall, the event's getting significantly easier to complete, while still allowing a certain amount of XP farming at the same time. So I do think this is a particularly good set of changes and should strike that nice balance. I think so, anyway. Those of us who are still after the radiation barrel and particularly the hazmat suit for our collections should have better odds of getting them now. And those who want XP, you can still get that. And with the lower requirements for ore as well, it won't take so long for people to just dash down there, grab a bit, and contribute to the event, which is cool as well. I'm assuming these totals, 5, 15, 30, and 50, are cumulative as well, so you won't have to get 5 and then start from 0 and get to 15, and I assume you just need another 10, and then need another 15 on the top of it, instead of needing another 30, and so on. So that would be, yeah, that should make it a lot more practical to complete, which is cool. Swarm of Suitors is being adjusted to make it reflect better in terms of its action what the Grafton Mayor describes it as being. So, as it is, you basically have to kill the Mirelurk Queen. And this change should mean that instead of focusing on that, you've got to avoid summoning the Mirelurk Queen, or avoid having the Mirelurks do it, which is cool. Kind of, it fits better with that dialogue that's already in the game. We've addressed a number of bugs that could prevent players from receiving the highest tier of rewards, and from successfully completing the event. I've not had too much trouble with that, but we'll take it. That's always a good thing. We've also made some design changes to streamline the event. Swarm of Suitors has been redesigned to focus on killing Mirelurks within a certain amount of time, rather than preventing them from reaching the island. So you've got to kill them off rather than keeping them at a distance. Now, players must kill all Mirelurks in each of 3 attack waves before the objective timer expires. If they don't manage that, then the Queen spawns and the event will end in failure. Although you probably still have to kill the Queen anyway. But yeah, if you see the Queen, you've failed this time around, as opposed to hoping she spawns nice and quickly so you can move on to something else. Which should also extend the length of it, because often as not you can blast through it in sub 2 minutes as it was, so sub 1 minute sometimes, so that's definitely an improvement. It makes the event more substantial. And last on this section, tea time. Tea time could end in failure too quickly, sometimes due in part to some of the pipes breaking too easily. As a result, we've increased the health for 2 of the 3 pipes so that they match the sturdiest pipe, which I think will probably be the water tower one. We've also tuned enemy attack waves to spawn creatures at a more consistent frequency to keep up the action. Yeah, in favour of that. And additionally, this is my favourite one, Radants and Ticks no longer spawn enemy waves that attack the pipes. However, Radants and Bloatflies that now spawn in separate enemy waves will focus their attacks on players. So those tiny little ants that you can hardly see, you should be able to find more easily because they'll be attacking you instead of the pipes, and you'll actually notice when they're attacking, rather than having something that's really hard to pick out of the long grass, for example, or at a distance, doing damage and then struggling to take them out. So that should definitely be an improvement. Those Radants in particular are just they're just a bit awkward. So the change is making that a lot smoother, I think, so that should be a good thing. So, tune into Pirate Radio, the new radio station. Very, very cool. They've got a few in there already, but adding a new one should be, add a little bit more flavour to the adventures in Appalachia for most players. Obviously, those of us who make content and stream and so on and so forth still will have to leave our radios off, but for everybody else, this is a win. It seems someone out there in the wasteland has found a way to hijack the airwaves to begin broadcasting their very own pirate radio station. Open your Pipboy and tune into the new station to tap your toes to hours of new jingles, catch a blast from the past with radio dramas and commercials from life before the bombs dropped. The audio interloper behind this rogue station has yet to reveal their identity. Until they do, you can enjoy some fresh tunes during your adventures. So, sounds like they might be revealing their identity. Possibly we're going to be somewhere on the map that we can go and find them at some point. Who knows? It might mean a future sort of small side quest line, maybe? Who knows? Thinking back to Confidence Man in Fallout 4 here and the radio DJ questline. I do. Fallout 3 had its own set as well with 3 dogs. So, yeah, stuff like that is always welcome and fun. So it would be cool to hopefully add a few extra quests in time, but it's not happening with this update. Perhaps in March, maybe. We'll see. So, bug fixes. As I say, I'm going to blast through this as fast as I can. I'm going to pick out the most interesting stuff. As usual, link down below if you want to find the patch notes and read through it yourself. Strongly suggest you do, because this is quite extensive and there's some really cool stuff in here. The best of it I'll try and pick out, but then I may skip over stuff that you are particularly interested in, so worth having a scroll through yourself, and as I say, links down below if you want to find it. So, bug fixes and additional improvements. One useful one in the art set is a graphics change where they fixed an issue that could cause enemy and player corpses to temporarily become invisible after being killed. So they should be easy to loot if that doesn't happen. Definitely a win. So, a whole bundle of camp stuff that is pretty cool here. So, displays. The pepper shaker can now be displayed in the heavy weapon stand. Fences. Red cedar hedges, which were added recently in the atomic shop, placed in a teammate's camp, can now be moved, stored, scrapped, etc. by the camp owner. Clean US wall and pole flags have been hand-washed with care and are now much cleaner than before. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that. Too clean doesn't really suit Wasteland Camp to me, but for those who do want to see them cleaned up, there you go. And of course, there are still the slightly damaged versions available as well. Floors. Camp budget consumed by the Haunted House floor is now consistent with other types of flooring. Didn't know it wasn't, but that's always a win. Miscellaneous structures. Reduce the camp budget consumed by large neon signs and billboards. So basically, that's more budget if you're using those things, which is always a win. Roofs. Pay attention to this one because I know there's a lot of people who wanted this. Camp budget consumed by the Haunted House roof is now consistent with other types of roofing. Yay, more budget. A windowless variation of the Haunted House roof slant has been added to the Haunted House building set. So yeah, the current version only had the one with a little roof on it. Now there is a plain one available too, which is definitely cool. I mean, it'll blend into other types of build as well, much better, and not look so out of place, so definitely cool. On top of which, I'm hoping that because the new set that's coming in the new season, it's at rank 90 something or other, is based upon this set, I'm hoping that this will also apply to that new upcoming set as well. So we'll have to wait and see as per on that one, but fingers crossed, that's promising. It's a good fix. It's not even really a fix, it's an addition, so that's cool. So stash boxes. They implemented a little fix to reduce instances where the secret stash bookcase and other stash boxes could appear to be open even though they were closed. Yeah, I've noticed that a few times, particularly with the wooden boxes, the yellow ones. And yeah, hopefully they will stay closed more, which is cool. The Wavy Willards round deck table now correctly appears in the tables category of the build menu. I think this is a recent addition to the from the atomic shop, so that should appear where you'd expect it to now. Powered doors with keypad access now correctly snap to foundations. This one has been a bugbear for a while. I first noticed the problem with this ages ago, but the fact it's finally been fixed is definitely welcome. So if you want keypad access to an area in your camp, you can now snap those walls into place and actually use them. Definitely a winner. So the Haunted House right fascia pieces no longer flip after applying wallpaper to them. Hadn't noticed, but okay. Wall decor. This is one I kind of alluded to earlier. Season game boards no longer each have their own entry in the build menu, but instead appear as variants in a single row under wall decor, ever so slightly tidying up that column. Still need a lot more of stuff like this being done, really, but yeah, that's one step in the right direction. I'll take it. Any little tidy up is definitely a welcome thing. Like I say, I would still like to see a massive overhaul, but I'll take a little tidy if that's what we've got for now. Just a step in the right direction. And workbenches. Attempting to use a power armor station that's been built close to a wall or other object no longer results in a waiting for response from server error message. So either you'll get a correct error message, if there is one, or it will just work properly. Either or. Either way, that would definitely be preferable, then at least you know what's going on. So there's a few challenge changes here, but the couple of big ones are the weekly challenges. Killing a hermit crab now progresses the kill huge creatures challenge, so when that one pops up, you've got an extra option on there. So combat, the enemy health implemented a fix to significantly reduce enemy health rubber banding that could occur when damaging them with certain weapons, like the pepper shaker, so they shouldn't spontaneously heal sometimes. It should be much less frequently occurring. Sounds to me like this is not a complete fix, but a part fix. I'm guessing they're still working on it, but baby steps, I suppose, a step in the right direction. Daily Ops. When you're at Arctos Pharma, they've adjusted the spawn location for Daily Ops inside Arctos Pharma so that players had more room to move around and are less likely to start the op by accident. So that's that initial little space when you first load in. You might want to gear up in, take any chems, whatever. That space has been made a little larger so you don't accidentally step too far forward and set the timer off. So, very cool. Don't know how big it's going to be, but definitely a nice little bonus. Give you a bit more room to gear up in. So, events and quests, got a couple of changes here, nothing spectacular. Personal favourite of mine, though, the Motherlode. Melody Lock-in will no longer warn the player about church bells in Charleston after completing the Motherlode event. Your reign of terror has ended, Melody. This one's been going on for a while. As you run out of the mine from that particular event, she'll suddenly start telling you about problems in Charleston, and that's not going to happen, and it no longer will, which is good. Definitely a nice little improvement. So we have a couple of changes to Fallout Worlds as well there, some for menus and indicators being sorted out so those work properly. If you've got crafting set up so it doesn't use any resources, that should now work as intended, which apparently it wasn't doing before. And they fixed an issue that could prevent people joining players in a private adventure world if they were already in a team, which is definitely good as well. So, a whole load of item changes. Some of these are quite cool. Addiction debuffs now correctly suppressed after consuming the item the character is addicted to. They fixed an issue that could result in less ammo being crafted than expected when attempting to craft large amounts of high caliber ammo with the Ammo Smith and Ammo Factory legendary perk equipped. The hooded rags now finally function as an outfit instead of replacing your armor, so they go over it instead of actually taking your armor off. So that's definitely a win. That's another option available for those who want to appear like a little wasteland wanderer. That's very, very cool. I'm happy about that one. The wrapped cap can now be worn with eyewear and some face coverings, and no longer removes facial hair when equipped. So definitely a bonus for those who want to check that one out. It's kind of a hood, really, which is quite nice. They've removed an exploit that allowed players to use fewer materials than intended when crafting legendary items. Always good. Hoof those cheaters in the sensitive parts. The Valorous Alistair sword skin can now be applied to many additional one-handed melee weapons, which is cool. Cold steel beer steins now face the same direction as other steins when placed in a stein display case. Nice. So, a whole bunch of mod changes. One that has been a subject of conversation recently. They fixed an issue that allowed players to apply jetpack to excavator armor. So this will be the one where you use the Hellcat power armor jetpack and it would go on the excavator armor. It no longer will. So that was never intended to be a thing. The excavator's not supposed to have a jetpack option. This is apparently a deliberate choice, which I guess is predicated on the idea that it's meant to be used underground instead of up in the air. But yeah, that issue has now been fixed. You'll no longer be able to put jetpacks on your excavator armor. They fixed an issue that could prevent a minigun with a shredder mod dealing damage if the player had 5mm ammo in their inventory. Yeah, that'd be a problem. But good fix. They fixed an issue that could prevent weapon bash attacks from dealing damage after applying a mod that increases weapons melee damage. It's handy for those who have those. And they've fixed the orientation of the Tinker's Workbench and the Scrap Box in the APC Survival Tent. We have a few localization changes for those who are interested in those. And a couple of NPC changes. The Settler Forager ally can now once again give daily quests to the camp owner. Definitely a win. And a Minerva fix. Item plans and recipes the player has already learned will no longer appear to them as purchasable in Minerva's inventory, so that should correctly show that you already know them. We have a whole host of performance and stability changes as well, both client-side and server-side, which is always a win. So fewer crashes are always welcome. Friendly Fire has been re-enabled and fixed, that particular perk, so allied NPCs can now be healed using Friendly Fire, which is definitely a win. They've added a UI fix to the main menu that fixes visual issues that could occur after idling on the main menu for an extended period. Can't say I'd noticed that one, but 3 guesses as to why. And last but not least, ultracite veins. Mining an ultracite vein near a fissure site no longer causes scorched to spawn. They will only spawn in relation to scorched beasts as they are intended. So, there we go. A whole host of fixes and adjustments and quality of life improvements and new events. There's a lot of good stuff in here. A couple of things that don't go quite far enough and I'm unsure about. Again, I'm going to have to check them out as we get into the game and that sort of thing. But on the whole, it looks like a positive set of changes. Quite a big bit of patch notes, really, considering the nature of the update, but a lot of it's kind of bit stuff, which I know is not the most exciting, but at the same time, it's stuff that we need to generally smooth out the experience. So the next update hinting at on the community calendar is for March. So I mean, I missed that when I was looking at the community calendar in the previous video, but that was what I get for trying to rush through it. But yeah, it looks like that'll be when we get the next big update, and my hunch, and it's pure hunch, is that they might go for more of a content-based update on that one, because at that point it'll have been 9 months since they announced the pit and stuff, so I'm guessing expeditions will probably appear around about then. I certainly hope so. There's been a couple of things that were delayed out of this update that are likely to appear around then as well. We'll have to see. We should get a roadmap around about that time as well, so we get a better idea of what's coming in terms of the updates for 2022. And yeah, it'll be cool to see. So, yeah, not the most exciting, but there's some really good stuff in here and things that are definitely going to improve the experience of playing 76 in general as well. And I am looking forward to the new events, and of course we have, obviously, the Holiday Scorched following on from Night of the Moth as well, so that with the current season should keep us fairly busy for at least the next month or two. I imagine we're going to probably run out a bit ahead of March of stuff to do again, which is not ideal, but, you know, these things take time to produce, and it's always better that they take the time than rush them, so it is what it is. Life is cruel and unfair. Anyway, on that joyous note, I'm going to wrap this one up, so thank you very much for watching. High five if you made it this far. Good work, this is definitely a chunky video. Thank you very much. If you did enjoy the video, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I do very much appreciate it. As per usual, merch store, channel memberships, social media links, all that good stuff are available down below the video if you want to support the channel in that way. I very much appreciate it. Do check that out, along with all the other links and bits and pieces as well that I mentioned earlier. And if you get the chance, do join us for live streams as well. We are jumping back into Fallout 76 for the next couple of days, and then resuming the usual schedule next week, playing 76 and The Witcher. So, lots of fun to be had there. Do hope you'll join us for that. Having a really good time with it. Looks like it should be plenty to keep us busy the next few weeks. So look forward to seeing you there. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.